Is basically JC is brought into this mysterious motel by his father, and this guy thinks that this is a place that illegal immigrants come in to get refuge, or where they do something illegal, where the father gives them like fake documents to cross the border in this western country with a giant wall. But he soon realizes that this motel has a different purpose, and that is to actually kill these immigrants in this country. And the way they do it is through this crazy bit. Tokyo is great because we go back to the land where they create a lot of these kind of crazy supernatural kind of creatures in their films. So they have a long history of cinema with very strange things happening. So, but the audience reaction in Tokyo is great because Japanese people are very peculiar in expressing they don't really show much emotion, right? So some people watch the film really trying to keep a straight face while not being scared in the scary moments, trying to be very Japanese. So it was quite funny seeing them kind of fidget a little bit, breaking their Japaneseness.
Taiwan, yeah, the Taipei festival. They were very interested in the mystical character. They had a lot of questions about that. Maybe I'm not sure if they can relate to it. But it was something interesting for them. So yeah, and they were scared. They were scared.
For me, I mean, besides the crazy supernatural creatures and people fighting to get out, which is the genre aspect of it, I think when you're talking about the relatability side, I think it's the human element behind it. I mean, this film is really about a young man trying to step out of his father's shadow, trying to inherit a lot of sin that his father has created. And then the morality that he has to deal with once he takes over this motel, with the responsibility of, being placed in a situation where it's me or them. What does he do? Does he decide to do the right thing? Does he do nothing at all? Or does he do the wrong thing? And all these choices have consequences. So I think for me, in terms of relatability, it's really about children trying to become their own people, stepping out their parents' shadow.
How about you, Ms. Agot? How do you think a Filipino can relate on this film?
The film presented a lot of dilemma for every character. There's always a dilemma to choose, what is right and what is for survival or for morality. Diba? What is the right thing to do? And in everyday lives, we are faced with that same choice, that we should make. So, it's maybe magnified lang in a bigger setting, but yeah, everyone relates to the choice to be made, to do something right or to just do it for survival, even if it's wrong.
Yeah.
My first film is a very straightforward kind of art house drama with the late Pepe Smith, and it was very, it's a very small film, it's a very intimate film. And we wanted to try something totally different this time for the second film. So with my producer, Bianca, who also co-wrote the film, we decided, let's go crazy as we can, as different as we can. So we came up with the idea, let's go with, let's try something supernatural, let's try something with a horror element to it. So the craziest thing we could think about is, what if there was, the legend of, Philippines, we have a lot, not just Philippines, in Southeast Asia, we have a lot of supernatural creatures, and all of them are linked to the forests. We have a very strong connection with our forests. So the idea is that what if there was a tree demon in this forest, and what if these illegal loggers kind of cut down this tree? So what if the spirit of this tree demon is stuck inside the wood, and then what if you cut up this wood, as people do to make things, and what if they made into this bit? So this bit now has a vengeful desire to eat the men that cut it down and impregnate the women, so to speak. It got into a lot of international script labs, so there's a bit of like an international kind of touch to it, and also the casting with the international actors. I think it all came down to a lot of international co-production with this one. I think, in our industry locally, we just like to work with our friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
Actors, people who know, who are good, but also have a great kind of rapport with. But it's the same with this thing as well, the international actors. like one of the antagonists, Don, played by Nicholas Saputra. Basically, he's kind of like the John Lloyd of Indonesia. But Bianca met him in a festival in Berlin many years ago, and then they kind of kept in touch. Same thing with Bron Balare, the Malaysian actor. Is kind of like, I met him being Malaysian myself. Kind of, we have this camaraderie when we go out internationally and say like, we should work together. And then the same thing with the Thai actor Pitaya, who was in Only God Forgives with Ryan Gosling, by Nicholas Winding Refn. And also I think the idea is like all these relationships were created through the international circuit, and then it's kind of like hey, we should really work together. And then it's always a joke when you say let's work together, because how will you fit this in, you know, how will these guys come in? But then when there's a project that's international like this, with a subject matter about immigration, about how these kind of immigrants from our part of the world, Southeast Asia, end up in this mystical Western land where they think it's the best place to be, and then suddenly they need to escape from this place. So I think it kind of naturally and organically kind of fell into place.
Just curious, why did it become Motel Acacia? And was that like the perfect tree for you? Because there are various mystical trees in the Philippines, and the foremost is Balete.
Yeah, but Motel Balete sounds a bit...
and also the word hotel, I mean the motel, because it's quite different here in the Philippines.
Yeah.
Why is it like a conscious choice?
I mean, as you will see in the film, like the idea of motel or place of inhabiting is really a front. It's just this facade that the father uses to kind of lure the immigrants inside. So people thinking they're going to this refuge of a motel, but when they finally get there, they realize that this is not really the place. And the motel itself, or rather the place of Motel Acacia in the film, is actually underground. It's kind of like an underground, kind of strange, mystical bunker. So, you know, there's a lot of... Immediately from the start, you know that this is not a regular motel. This is not motel at all. This is a place where horrible things happen. So Motel Acacia is more of a front that the father uses in the film.
Do you also welcome the notion of putting attention to Asian films now that, I mean, just in the recent Oscars alone, Parasite did actually good.
Amazing,
how do you as a director see that? Is it like an opportunity to also, you know, showcase your own now that people are looking into Asian cinema?
I don't think we ever go out to try and like promote Asian cinema. We go out to tell stories and do our own cinema. Especially in Southeast Asia, we are so diverse and so unique, yet so united in our films. Like you can tell the film is from Southeast Asia because of a certain aesthetic, or maybe we all deal with dreams, we all deal with supernatural things. Even in regular dramas, there's always this mystical element. So, I mean, for us, I think what's important is we just keep telling our own kind of cinema and not try to emulate or copy, even if Korean cinema is Asian cinema, but I think it's totally different from what we do. And I think there's a lot of merit in what we do as well.
All right, thank you. And Miss Agot, I don't know if that's like a shot in the arm that you told in previous interviews that, you know, this film is also about humans actually getting desensitized about deaths or murders per se. Do you think it mirrors what governments are doing? Certain governments, I'm not saying this is the government, are doing with their people?
I think these times we are presented with very, very distinct problems because of immigration, people crossing borders, diba? And I think also there's a certain, if you cross borders, then you bring in also a certain kind of culture, and some people cannot really relate to that. And then there is discord, this, you know, it's so hard to like come together because of different views in certain things. So I guess the film kind of mirrors that difficulty of, you know, different cultures crossing together and being in one area. So, it's just, I guess, a lot of problematic situations that come from that crossing borders and immigrations because of global, openness. it's weird now we're open, but we're actually closed at the same time.
All right. Thank you. Oops.
Okay, we're the only, JC and I were the only Filipinos in the cast. Well, no, preparing also. But also in the movie. It was fun working with different stars or artists, actors from different countries. It's interesting, but you know, parang everyone just brought their A game in the movie, and we saw Bradley's vision of the film, and we stayed in Makati for like 2 weeks. We see each other every day, day in, day out.
Some stayed for like 2 months, I think.
Oh yeah, some stayed for 2 months. 2 months,
Yeah.
right? And then we went to Slovenia all together. So it was interesting the way the process is different from Jan's process, especially the Belgian actors' process is different. He's really so much into it, word per word.
Yeah.
And I think the Asian actors, the Southeast Asian actors, are more really feeling instinct, gut. I mean, I think that's how we worked as Asians. So, you know, it's interesting. You kind of learn from all of them at the same time, but we have fun. I mean, they're crazy people, just like us.
MOTEL ACACIA.
I'm a big fan of Kubrick's work, but I think this is more of a little bit of a Ridley Scott kind of feeling, a lot of inspiration from the first Alien movie. Maybe also a lot of the Thing by Carpenter. I had a feeling of the Thing as well inside. But these kind of all just like references of certain small little elements. But in terms of like the claustrophobia, the feeling of like you can't get out from this place, the cold, the horrible cold. I think in terms of The Shining, I think that's kind of what we wanted to bring as well.
One last question.
I think it's something we kind of escape from. I think we are also very desensitized here in Southeast Asia. We think that it is not something that applies to us because we don't live in a Western country. But we are the ones going to these countries. We are the ones ending up in these places thinking it's the better place. And when we get there, we are treated like second-class citizens. So maybe for me, it's always this idea of like, why do we think that going to the West is the answer to all our problems? Maybe we need to fix things right here.
No. But I had a chance before because I studied in the US, and then I could have stayed. I had actually had an American fiance once. And but it really never crossed my mind. I think my heart and my soul really belongs to the Philippines.
Fantastic. I mean, they're like the quintessential Filipino actors, right? It's like you tell them the scene, you put the camera, the action, and then you get it on the first take, and then it's magic. But I think it's very interesting as well when if we go back to actor process, because the Belgian actor Jan Bijvoet, I mean, he's fantastic, but he also emphasizes a lot on dialogue per se. So he needs to get the dialogue specifically correct in specific intonations. Whereas, like you said, the Filipino actors are more like they just feel it in the moment. But then you have the Indonesian actor who also feels it, but he won't feel it until a little bit into the take. He needs to get into gear. So I think a very challenging moment is when maybe 6 of them or 7 of them are all in the same frame. And then you realize that everyone is kicking into gear in different times. So I guess it was really interesting to try and balance it out and try to figure out how to get the best moments from everyone. This is the best part. I mean, coming back, shooting here and then going out, but then coming back and having the local audience watch it and feel it and maybe scream a little. I think it'll be the best part because this film really belongs to Southeast Asia and the spirit and the soul is Southeast Asian. So I'm very excited.
Okay, thank you. The bugs, but no ghosts or supernatural experience yet. Yeah.
I because we also produce for Bianca and I, my producer, we also produce for Love Diaz, and we always end up shooting in very remote places, very creepy places. But every time I go on a love year shoot, something supernatural will happen. It's so creepy. There was one place we were staying in Subic, and in the middle of the night, we stayed in this room. I mean, like 4 of us shared this room. But then there was this cupboard that could not be closed. No matter, like 4 people were trying to close this cupboard, it could not close. And if you shine like a torchlight, the light does not go into the cupboard.
Wow.
It's bizarre. Like you open all the windows, but the light would just not penetrate the cupboard. And of course, I slept next to the cupboard. And in the middle of the night, a lot of strange dreams of someone trying to break through the door or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's quite bizarre. I mean, maybe I was tired. Maybe I ate too much rice. I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely creepy. Yeah.